Welcome back to the Vantage Point, where we allow you to peek behind the curtains of where some of the greatest minds reside to better understand how they think, how they speak, how they interact, mainly how they see the world, in hopes to inspire Nubians all across the globe to see their very own lives and the world in which they live from a different perspective, a different vantage point. So we bring on different thinkers from all different backgrounds: doctors, philosophers, scholars, theologians, teachers, professionals who have traveled different paths. But they come here to share with us some of the tools necessary to help in our awakening and liberation as a people, as a collective. So on today's show, we will be speaking with a doctor who specializes in chiropractic care. He will be also a guest speaker at an upcoming event that will be held on May 20th called Revamp, which focuses on mental health and wellness. Now, family, we all absolutely must begin treating our bodies with the level of care that it needs. But the only problem with that is that we don't know our bodies. So, if we don't know our bodies, how can we treat it with the level of care that it requires? So, it takes a level of commitment to be committed to yourself, because oftentimes we commit to all the wrong things. We commit to the wrong types of music, the wrong types of food, the wrong types of uh, music, sounds, food, all these TV shows, the different things that, we do on a daily basis. But we have to have that same level of commitment for ourselves and for our family. So it's very important that we speak about health and wellness. And with that, I want to bring in Dr. Tucker. Welcome, Doc. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. So, it's a number of things we want to go into. Now, you've been on this podcast before, right? But now
Yes.
you're by yourself, you're alone, so we can actually focus on what it is that you do.
Okay.
Um, Now, first, can you just tell us how long have you been a chiropractor, and what kind of chiropractor are you? Because from my research, I think it's about two or so different type of chiropractors. And so, what kind of chiropractor are you, and why did you make that choice?
All right. I've been a chiropractor. I finished chiropractic school in 1999. So I finished taking my boards in 2000. I got licensed, and I've been practicing since. So that's about 20, right at 22 years.
22 years. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So what got me into chiropractic? I was my last year of undergraduate study in university, and I knew I wanted to be a doctor, but I didn't really know what type of doctor I wanted to be. So I had some choices.
Okay.
I'd gotten accepted into a chiropractic school in Kansas City, Missouri.
Hmm.
And one of my college professors told me about a college, the one that I attended in Marietta, Georgia. He
Okay.
told me about it. He set it up where I could go and actually visit the school. So I went to visit the school, and I liked it.
Okay.
So my choices were chiropractic school or graduate school in genetics or microbiology.
Okay.
So after visiting at Atlanta, and my first visit to the school was my first time actually coming to Atlanta.
Okay.
So after going around the city and looking at things and meeting people, and
Hmm.
you know um, going downtown and seeing the Martin Luther King Center,
Hmm.
I saw it as somewhere that I could live,
Okay.
somewhere that I could move to and continue my studies. So I decided to move to Atlanta and go to school, to go to chiropractic school here in Marietta, Georgia.
Hmm.
And while in school, my goal was to graduate school and move back home to Mississippi. But after graduating and being here, I got kind of used to being here. So I decided to stay. So I've been
Okay.
And you said what? You asked me another question.
What kind of chiropractic do you do? Because I think it was like two different kinds that when I was reading up on the
Okay,
profession.
yeah. Well, the names have changed over the years,
Hmm.
but there's what's called a straight chiropractor, where you
Okay.
only adjust the spine,
Okay.
and those that adjust the spine, but you also do um, massages,
Okay.
muscle work. You look at nutritional deficiencies that a patient may have. You look
Hmm.
at the blood work. Pretty much, you're looking at all aspects of the patient that affects their health to get to
Hmm.
the root cause of the of disease,
Okay.
and look at ways to address it and make the patient better.
Okay. Now, speaking in the conversations I've had with people, and even working for a chiropractor a while ago,
Mhm.
I know that a lot of people have a wrong perception of what a chiropractor is and what they do, and they think it's about just the back and cracking it, and it may hurt, it may not hurt. But what exactly is that you do for the health of a patient? What exactly are you focused on?
Well, when you look at chiropractic, it's not just about cracking the back.
Okay.
That's a lot of chiropractors only focus on that,
Okay.
but you want to look at um, the you want to try to get as close to the root cause of the disease as possible.
Okay.
So you're looking at everything.
Hmm.
So let's say, for example, you get a patient's blood work, and certain components of that blood work is um, not normal, is abnormal,
Okay.
either
Hmm.
low normal or high normal. You need to address why it's out of its normal range,
Hmm. Okay.
right? So you want to adjust the diet if that's the problem.
Hmm.
You want to increase your exercise or physical activity if the
Hmm.
problem is a lack of exercise.
Yes.
You want to increase your mentality or your attitude.
Okay.
Positive mental attitude assists in the healing process. You want to, I think I said, minimize stress
Right. Yes.
as,
Mhm.
as much as possible. But stress, a lot of people associate stress with being bad or negative, but pretty much you can't avoid it. So you want to develop ways to deal with it, or
Okay.
or recognize when the stress is becoming adverse or detrimental to your health.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
living in this society is kind of impossible to avoid things like that.
Mhm.
So we want to recognize it and develop ways within ourselves to bring ourselves back to a normal state or balance.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Now, so within that, right, because most people would think just the alignment of the back. Now, you mentioned and developed it a little bit more, but aside from like the neurological health and the range of motion, the flexibility, the muscle strength, etc., it's also said that chiropractic care helps with mental health, your mental state as well as mood. Is that a true statement?
Yes, yes, yes. That is a true statement because um, during treatment plans,
Mhm.
we are encouraging the patient to um, pinpoint or outline the things that they go through during the course of a day.
Okay.
The good things, the bad things, we want to know what they eat, because some of the things that they may be consuming may be contributing to their disease process, or it may be contributing to the inflammation that's in the body, which leads to the abnormal blood work.
Mhm. Mhm.
So um, we want to adjust the diet.
Okay.
When you adjust the diet, certain components of that blood work is going to correct itself.
Okay.
So we don't want to We want to get away from consuming a lot of processed foods,
Okay.
a lot of sugars, and all of these things affect the body, affect the person neurologically because
Okay.
that's what you asked about.
Yes.
How does it affect the person neurologically?
Yes. The
Because
mind and the mood, right, as well. Mm-hmm.
yes, so you can eat certain foods and you can um, become hyper. Let's say you eat sugar. Sugar is a neurotoxin.
Okay.
So if a child eats sugar and they sit down and try to study, they will have difficulty focusing. They
Right.
won't be able to sit down and concentrate.
Mm-hmm.
So, with knowing that sugar is a neurotoxin, we would advise patients to minimize the processed sugars and
Okay.
consume more natural sugars that you would get from your fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
Your body will process that differently and it won't have that negative effect that processed sugar would have.
Okay. So do you actually have your patients write down and track their diet so that you're able to see exactly what they're getting, aside from the test that you run, which I do want to
Yes.
go into that a little bit more, but you have them actually track it and bring it, hey, this is what I eat daily, and you're able to see how you need to adjust that to fit into your care plan.
Not every patient, not
Okay.
every patient,
Okay.
because but the maintenance patients that come in, the a lot of patients come in for personal injury.
Mhm.
So a personal injury patient would would come in. Their treatment plan usually runs 2.5 to 3 months.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so we would touch on these things, but we don't get into details.
Hmm.
This
Okay.
type of treatment plan is for an ongoing patient
Okay.
because these things have to be continuously monitored and adjusted
Hmm.
based on how the patient is responding.
Hmm. Okay,
So,
I'm glad you said that because
yeah,
you said maintenance patient. So even those who come in maybe for a personal injury, do you encourage them to continue care? Because
yes.
I know sometimes people think that you have to go to a chiropractor if it's something wrong with your back.
Mhm.
But just falling off a bike, getting into a car accident, little things I thought kind of shifted the alignment of your back. So
Mhm.
does someone have to go through some type of experience before they seek chiropractic care, or do you encourage them to come just to maintain a healthy spine alignment?
Okay, those are some good
Mm.
questions.
Okay.
And that needs to be cleared up. A
Okay.
lot of people think that the only reason to come to a chiropractor is if they were in a car accident
Mhm.
or if they have back pain,
Mhm.
where um, it's documented scientific research that chiropractic adjustments, when adjusting certain segments in your cervical spine, actually helps to boost your immune system.
Mm. Okay.
So so a person that's prone to colds, they
Mhm.
may have spinal misalignments.
Mm.
Spinal misalignments is associated, your spine is associated with your nervous system,
Mhm.
and then your nervous system works in conjunction with your endocrine system
Mhm.
and the other 14 body systems.
Okay.
So if there's disruption or dysfunction in any of those systems,
Mhm.
mainly up the spine,
Mhm.
you will have these dysfunctions and disease,
Mhm.
and pain is usually the last thing to manifest unless you have a traumatic injury or something.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Okay, you're jumping because we're gonna go there next. So, okay.
Okay.
Before we go there,
Let
let
me
me
finish.
ask. Go
Can I
ahead.
finish?
Yes. Yes.
So with pain being the last thing to manifest,
Mhm.
and after your treatment,
Mhm.
pain is the first thing to leave. So after the first few visits, the
Mhm.
pain may start to decrease or
Mhm.
totally go away, but you haven't completed the treatment plan,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
So when the pain goes away, a lot of people think that they no longer need it.
Mhm.
but the cause is still there, and if we don't correct that, then
Mhm.
it usually returns.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
almost like medication. Like I had some type of strep throat at one time, and me, I'm not big on taking pills, and so they're like, "Here, but you have to finish this bottle." I was
And
told,
you
"Finish
didn't.
the bottle, finish the bottle." So I said, "Okay, I'm gonna finish the bottle." I took 2 or 3. I was like, "Oh, one day it went away," and I
Yeah, you
stopped.
started to
I
feel
didn't
better.
follow instructions, and so it resurfaced. So I
Yes.
definitely I understand that. And so, can you give us an example on how this works in the body, because I think it's very interesting that you mentioned if you have an issue with your immune system, that these adjustments can help correct that problem. So can you tell us, how does that take place in the body? Walk us through what takes place, how these correspond with each other.
Okay. When you
Hmm.
have your easy example, you have your spine,
Hmm.
you have vertebra. Vertebra have spinal nerve roots that come out of each segment until you get to your lumbar segment. In your low back, then it's kind of different. But all of them have the spinal nerve roots, and you have the spinal cord
Okay.
that stops in the upper lumbar, and then it branches off to a bunch of different nerves.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
nerves go innervate muscles and organs in your body.
Okay.
Okay,
Hmm.
so let's say a nerve to your stomach.
Okay.
Let's say that nerve flow is not flowing to your stomach the way that it should.
Hmm.
So that nerve innervation is, or that nerve force is not going to be as strong as it should be.
Okay.
Okay, so you identify these areas that are that could have increased function,
Okay.
where the function or the nerve force needs to be improved.
Mm.
And if you know it's the stomach,
Hmm.
certain segments within the spine,
Hmm.
we know that those nerves go to the stomach or to the area of the stomach or your intestines or your digestive system. So you would
Hmm.
focus on those particular areas. That's the nerve.
Okay.
Protect, adjust those segments, and then you monitor over the next few visits to see if that function of those particular organs increase.
Hmm. Okay.
And usually it does.
Okay.
If,
Okay.
unless there's some other underlying conditions.
Okay. Now, what will usually cause that disruption in the neurological connection,
You mean the misalignments of the vertebra or the decrease in function?
as well as yes, the decrease in function? Yes.
Well, um, there are lots of things that can cause that.
Okay.
We like to say that it's caused by stress,
Okay.
but it's different types of stress.
Mhm.
There's an emotional component to stress.
Mhm.
We have when we move our bodies in certain directions, that's a biomechanical movement. That's a
Okay.
form of stress.
Mhm.
You know, when we consume foods
Mhm.
that are non-beneficial to our health, that's a
Okay.
form of stress.
Mm.
So when we say stress,
Mhm.
we're talking about all of those different types of stress that have an effect on the body.
Okay.
So that's why it's important to take a good history on the patient to assess their lifestyle.
Mhm.
Where they work. Do they work at a desk all day? Are they sitting at a computer screen all day?
Right.
Do they have to go home and take care of the children? Do they get exercise? Do they exercise? Do they get fresh air outside? All of those
Mhm.
things we have to look at, because all of those things will have an effect on the patient's health.
Okay. Now, I'm so glad that you mentioned stress. As you know, if left untreated, the body goes through many different stages of disease development. There are also stages or processes of mental health issues. So, are there also different phases or stages of development or deterioration that you would analyze in chiropractic care as well?
Yes. Let's say, for example, we look at we always take x-rays on a patient.
Okay.
When we take the x-rays, we're looking at the integrity of the spine to start with. First thing.
Okay. Okay.
When we're looking at the integrity of the spine, we look at the vertebra, the bone part, and the disc part, which is the fibrous cartilage part, to
Okay.
see if it's still intact. If we see degeneration, early degeneration is associated with lack of movement of the spine.
Okay.
It's associated with poor dietary habits. If a
Mm,
person has a high sugar intake, sugar, processed sugar
mhm.
will accelerate degeneration in your spine.
Mm, okay.
You
Okay.
know, if the person is a smoker,
Mhm.
nicotine will prevent or slow down the healing process
Mm,
because of with the nicotine um, doesn't allow the body to absorb the nutrients that are necessary to promote that healing process and that healing phase.
okay. Now, moving towards revamp, right? You'll be speaking. And I know a part of this conversation revolves around trauma. So, in these stages of development that you're seeing, how does trauma play a role? Do you see that later stages equate to more trauma in a patient? Are you able to tell whatever patients are dealing with trauma? Now, I know we normally think, emotional trauma, but it's also physical trauma. And so, if you can kind of explain how that looks on your side, and then we can begin to connect it to how it then transfers to being mental and emotional, etc.
Okay. Well, everyone is dealing with trauma.
Yes.
We've all had events that that have hurt us in different ways,
Mhm.
whether emotionally or physically. So everybody deals with that in some way.
Yes. Hmm.
So we want to have conversations with the patient.
Okay.
Okay. Sometimes a patient can come in and they say, I'm only here because my mom or somebody recommended me to come. I really didn't want to come because I don't think you all can help me.
Okay.
If a
Hmm.
person has that train of thought, I try to refer them somewhere else that they feel comfortable.
Because you won't be involved in the healing process.
Right, right.
Hmm.
So that's a mindset.
Okay.
You know, in the history intake, questions are asked about things that they've gone through in life.
Hmm.
Some of them are honest, some of them are not.
Okay.
But all of these things will affect how that healing process goes.
Okay.
So we have conversations with the patient. Some of them are comfortable,
Hmm.
some of them develop a level of comfort
How does these
throughout.
conversations go, Dr. Tucker? Please help us out. Tell us, how
Okay.
does these conversations go with the patients?
Okay. Now, there are different types of patients.
Right, based on right.
So are you talking about the personal injury patient, or are you talking about someone that's coming in for maintenance care?
Well,
that's
I want to
experienced.
I want to see a long-term patient, because a long-term patient knows that he needs more care. And the only reason I asked this is because I wanted to see if you've observed that more trauma takes place maybe in males, black men, than maybe black women, and different things like that. But before we can get there, I want to know, how receptive they are into having these type of conversations, to expose to you how the trauma took place in their life, not just saying, hey, look at my back, this is the results of it, but what happened that led to that, what's the actual event. I don't know if they go into those type of conversations, with you, or if you even encourage them to. So it may, you may say, no, we don't do that, but I'm just curious as to how that would go.
We haven't always done that.
Okay.
We haven't always done that.
Okay.
But my patients that
Hmm.
I've had for like uh, 10 years or so,
Hmm.
they know who I am. They know what I study. So I invite them to what I study.
Okay.
So those are the ones that I have these conversations with.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
Right.
So,
Because
okay.
they have an understanding of what is going to what it's going to take in order for them to reach a certain level of health. Now, that doesn't mean that they're willing to do it,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
because you know it once you know it, once
Mhm.
you know what the problem is,
Mhm.
now you have to apply and work towards correcting the problem,
Right. Okay.
which is not easy a lot of times.
Okay. And
That's
so
the hard
that's the
part.
hard part.
That's the
Yeah.
hard part.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I know you have to try to detect stress in the body. And so do you see, or have you observed over the years, especially with the information that you teach, and relating it to, your ethnicity, your culture, and different things like that. Do you find that more Nubian patients have a higher level of stress to the body than maybe other races? Do you see that black men versus black women maybe have more stress to the body, than other races? And this can come from accidents, it can be physical abuse, it can be whatever it is. I'm just wondering how that looks.
From what I've seen, I would say that the males would have higher levels of stress.
Hmm.
And mainly because with the males, they do extracurricular things.
Okay.
They do extracurricular things that um, stifle or limit or slow down that healing process.
Okay.
Those activities also will affect their mental abilities.
Hmm.
You know, it's going to affect their chemical makeup.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, they're drinking, they're smoking, they're eating the bad foods.
Mhm.
You know, so the first thing that I try to do is try to get them to see the importance of stopping that particular lifestyle first.
Okay.
If you don't stop that lifestyle, you know, the total healing process is pretty much impossible.
Okay. Okay.
You know,
Oh,
because
mhm.
you have to be in a sound state of mind in order to do a lot of the things that they need to do.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
being under the influence kind of limits that.
yeah.
It limits
A
that.
lot of limitations. So
Yes.
have you noticed that in a lot more young people? I don't know, do you get a lot of young people that come for care, or is it older
It's older
people?
people.
Okay.
Uh, yes.
Mm.
It's the younger people that I usually get are athletes, track athletes, football athletes
Mhm.
that come in because A lot of the football athletes, they come in during the season
Okay.
because they get an injury.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple of football players that came in because they got injured and they wanted to get back on the field quick.
Mm-hmm. And they need your approval.
It's their senior year.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to get scholarships. They're trying to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that. So there are things that you can do
Mm-hmm.
to accelerate that healing process.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So,
What's okay? What's some of those things that you would do to accelerate the healing process?
well, you would make sure that the body is getting the nutrients that it needs to
Mm-hmm.
heal.
Okay.
You would decrease those things that cause inflammation in the body.
Mm-hmm.
You would make sure that the muscle, if it's a muscular problem, you make sure that you're stretching it out as it's healing.
Okay.
There are things that you can do to accelerate that too, like e-stim and laser therapy and
Mm-hmm.
contrast therapy, cryotherapy, things like that. And you
Mm-hmm.
make sure that the nervous system, the spine is in alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure all the energy systems are flowing as
Okay.
much as possible
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because you can recommend that a person eats something, but they they can
Yeah.
come back and tell you that they ate it and they really didn't,
That was the next thing I was going to
or
ask
they
you is how
stayed
do you?
away from it and
Yeah.
they really didn't.
Yes, that was my next question is what kind of signs would you look for to know, okay, are you really following the plan? Because I don't know if there's projected time of healing. Like you say, normally it would take a person this long, given that
Yeah.
everybody's body is different. So is
Hmm.
that how you track to see if they're really doing what you're asking them to do?
Well, that's where the blood work comes in a lot of patients. If it's a
Mhm.
patient that didn't get blood work, like the young high school athlete, they wouldn't
Mhm.
necessarily get the blood work.
Okay.
But if they do what you recommend,
Hmm.
they should be getting better at a
Hmm.
certain pace.
Right.
So if
Right.
they're not getting better, either they're not doing what you are recommending them to do, or
Hmm.
they have some underlying conditions that's preventing them from healing.
Okay. Now, so then you also communicate with the medical doctor. Like, do they send you over updates on whatever it is that they're doing with the patient, or do you just kind of do your own care plan and stick to that? Because I know you're ordering blood work, and I don't know if what's being done with whatever other type of specialist that they're seeing affects what it is that you do.
No, no,
Okay.
that is only if I would recommend that patient out.
Mm-hmm.
If I suspect something that's underlying, I would make a referral
Mm-hmm.
to a specialist to rule out certain things. But normally,
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, these are people that I see, that I developed the treatment plan for, that
Mm-hmm.
I order the blood work for, and read, analyze the blood work to determine the course of action.
Okay. Okay, see, hot fire. Dr. Tucker is bringing the fire today. So I hope everyone has a pen and paper. I always keep my pen and paper. I'm taking notes. And we're going to go and take a quick commercial break. We'll come right back. We really, really, really want to focus on this topic here today because a lot of us want to have fun and listen to the things that make us feel good. But we have to make our health fun. We have to make living an optimal life fun. We have to make these type of conversations fun because this is what's going to get us to live a long healthy life. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're tuned into The Vantage Point. In my observation, Black people are dope. Despite stolen lands and stolen bodies and stolen culture, despite laws and psychology and science skewed and used with white supremacy in order to justify the inhumane treatment, Black people have mastered survival. Surviving and living and loving and worshiping and being so damn beautiful. In order to maintain survival, Black people have integrated trauma responses into the culture. So much so that we hand it down from generation to generation under the guise of values and tradition. Trauma responses are a physiological reaction in response to a perceived harmful event, a threat, or a threat to survival. When you are in a constant state of survival, your body cannot regenerate and rest, leaving more room for illness, mental, physical, and spiritual illness. Black people, there is trauma in your traditions and illness in your trauma. Healing Black people for a mindset shift from surviving to thriving.
Royal Breakthrough Hair and Beauty is presenting our natural hair care line, which will provide your hair with all the nutrients needed for stronger and healthier hair. With natural ingredients such as avocado oil, jojoba oil, nettle oil, and many more included in our products, your hair is sure to flourish and grow to its full potential. Purchase your Royal Breakthrough hair care products today at www.royalbreakthrough.com and enjoy the full Royal Breakthrough experience.
Welcome back to the Vantage Point. I want to thank everyone for tuning in today and just the constant support of the Juice for Life podcast, The Vantage Point. I wish we had a commercial that was actually playing the incense and encouraging you all to buy your incense. I don't know how many people purify their home, but within these conversations that we're having about health, it's also very important to keep good energy and to just keep good vibrations and vibes in your home. And so I'm going to put the link down below. I want everyone to check it out lately. These are the incense that I burn in my home, and I burn them all day. I really probably have to chill out a little bit, but I burn a lot of incense, and it's some great smells, and they're all for different purposes. So we want to encourage you all to get your Cuptic incense. As well as we're supporting our Black businesses. We used to do Black Owned Thursday on our Instagram, which we're going to get back to that. But I just want to shout out a business today. I see the great works that she has been doing. So I wanted to take a moment before we get back into this topic and discussion to just shout out Hidden Gems Bookstore in New Brunswick. And this woman has been amazing from the works that I've seen she's been doing. And she's doing a book tour, giving away thousands of books to children and adults. And so I wanted to give a shout out to Hidden Gems Bookstore. Everyone, please follow her on Instagram. Show some support because we are all we have. You know, we have to support each other. So I just wanted to take a moment to do that. Thank you for your patience. So Dr. Tucker, back to you. Back to you. So I wanted to ask you about energy. I wanted to talk about energy just for a second and ask how the flow of energy may be interrupted with these different misalignments or dis into what's the right word that I'm looking for when you have an
Supplementation.
issue. Yes. Thank you, Doc. So can you please let us know what happens to the flow of energy when we experience these issues, please?
When you say what happens to the flow of energy,
In the
yeah,
body.
we touched on it earlier
Mm-hmm.
when we were speaking about the nerve force moving through the nerves
Mm-hmm.
and the nerves innervating the muscles
Mm-hmm.
or the organs of the body.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you have decreased nerve innervation to your biceps muscle.
Okay.
All right. We
Mm-hmm.
have decrease in innervation. That muscle is not going to be as strong as it should be. Let's say you're going to lift something and you notice that, oh, I used to be able to lift this. I can't lift this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is it that your muscle has gotten weaker, or you have a decreased nerve innervation to that particular muscle?
Okay.
Or you may have a biceps tendon impingement in the biceps groove. So
Mm-hmm.
that's when you would do the muscle testing to determine if it's a muscular problem. You would need to know if it's a nerve problem, if it's a nerve problem or nerve conduction problem.
Mm-hmm.
That should improve with a spinal adjustment
Okay.
in that particular segment. So you should see improvement if
Mhm.
that's the problem.
Okay.
So
Now,
you will see an increase in the nerve force, or the improvement in the nerve innervation to
okay.
that muscle or to that organ, so it would function better. And when you retest it,
Mm-hmm.
it would test stronger on muscle test.
Okay. Stronger. Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, I want to kind of shift just a little bit. Still, keeping the same train of thought and
Mhm.
processing. However, from my perspective, and I can be wrong, what you do directly relates to the Arush Kokam, right? The seats of the body, what some people would call the chakras. And when it comes to health, a lot of people say you got to align, you got to know the seats and the chakras, etc. So I just wanted to know if what you do correlates with the Arush Kokab and the flow of energy, the electricity that flows through the body when we're speaking about the Arush Kokab. How does what you do correlate to that topic?
Well, what I do affects a portion of it.
Okay, let's talk about that portion.
It affects a portion of
Okay.
it. You're not it if you come, you get in alignment, it will
Mm-hmm.
assist in the energy flow. But with the Arush Kokab,
Mm-hmm.
that's a level of study
Mm-hmm.
go into,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to know the anatomy of the body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have to know the physiology of the body.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to know um, the glands. You have to know the function of the glands, the
Mm-hmm.
hormones that the glands produce, the
Mm-hmm.
function of those hormones.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to know, be aware or conscious of your state of mind, your emotional well-being.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how you feel. If you feel angry, if you feel agitated, if you feel peaceful,
Mm-hmm.
if you feel receptive, if you feel intuitive,
Mm-hmm.
so you have to become mindful of how you feel. But when dealing with the spine and the spinal alignments,
Mm-hmm.
we try to align the spine, free the body of all subluxations or misalignments
Mm-hmm.
and compensations.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
so the compensation would be a natural way for the body to level
Mm-hmm.
the eyes.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say you have an injury on the left side of your body, so your body's to the side, or you have a left shoulder that's low on the left side. Well, the normal mechanism or the normal corrective mechanism for your body is to level the eyes. So your
Okay.
head, so your head will go in the opposite direction
Hmm.
to keep your eyes level.
Okay.
So a lot of times we're looking at posture,
Mm-hmm.
and if the posture's off, the spinal alignments are going to be off.
Mm-hmm.
Spinal alignment is off.
Mm-hmm.
That nerve or energy flow is going to be off, or
Okay.
it won't be balanced.
Okay. Okay.
So you want to start to correct these things. And if it's if it's existed, if you've had it for a while,
Mhm.
You would have to re-educate your muscles in
Mhm.
order to begin to make those postural corrections to improve that energy flow
Mhm.
throughout the spine and
Mhm.
throughout the body.
Okay. So when you say re-educate your muscles, you're talking repetition, right? Every day doing certain
That
things.
yes, 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 that
Okay.
is correct. That is correct
Okay.
because if we don't use certain muscles,
Mhm.
they become inactive.
Right.
So a lot of times we have to go and activate those muscles and get our body accustomed to using the muscles and get the muscles accustomed to firing and being utilized when they're supposed to be utilized. Just
Okay.
like stagnant energy in your body.
Mhm.
Just like
Mhm.
a stagnant or blocked energy. You,
Okay.
those things have to be stimulated,
Okay.
activated so they can become active and you can utilize them.
Okay. All right. Now, how did your studies, continuing your education in whatever way that may be, whether
Mhm.
it's, the societies and different things that you're a part of, how does that impact or change what it is that you've done in your specific practice over the years? How do you incorporate different studies that you begin to develop in? How do you incorporate that in your practice? Has it changed anything? Does it develop, or have you been doing things pretty much the same?
It has changed a lot because when I went to chiropractic school, most of my instructors did not look like me.
Okay.
So, you know, you had to learn, pass the test,
Mhm.
graduate,
Yes. Mhm.
pass your boards so that you can work. Now, you have to, now I'm in the process of going back. I look at those things. I don't want to say that the things were wrong,
Mhm.
but they can be changed
Okay.
in order to benefit our community.
Okay. Okay.
Because the way that it was taught, you're not taught to heal the patient. You're taught to treat
Okay.
them,
Mhm.
and you're treating the symptoms as opposed to getting to the cause
The
of the
core, the
pain.
root. Mhm.
Yes.
So now
So
you're focused more on the healing.
on the total healing
Okay.
of the patient.
Mm.
Correct. Yes. So
Okay.
so so I would say, with going back, keeping the things from my learning that's beneficial,
Okay.
but adding a lot of things that I have learned over the last 10, 15 years
Mhm.
that's specifically for the benefit of melanonite people.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so 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 yes, a lot of it has changed, but it
Change.
has changed for the better.
Good. Okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
Now, I attended a function that you spoke at the other night, and you gave us a lot of information in a short period of time. So, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the what you spoke. Maybe you can repeat it for our audience. But some of the things that you mentioned was that you look at the diet. You also look at what you spoke about today. You also look at the what a person listens to, their music, what they watch, and anyone hearing that will say, "Well, what does that have to do with my care? What does it have to do with, what we got going on?" So, can you please explain further as a chiropractor, why are you concerned with the patient's music? Why are you concerned with what the patient watches? What does that have to do with anything?
Well, music, there
Mhm,
are healing tones when we're looking at music. There's music that's beneficial to your brain development.
okay.
There's TV shows that's beneficial to brain development. You know, I something real simple that I go through with my patients. I, if you want to watch TV or listen to the radio, you can listen to podcasts,
Okay.
beneficial, helpful podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are going to affect your brain in a beneficial way. It affects your memory also.
Mm-hmm.
It
Such as the
assists.
vantage point. Mm-hmm. Continue.
There you go. If you want to listen to music, you want
Mm-hmm.
to listen to soothing music.
Mm-hmm.
You want to listen to music with a healing frequency, and it's easy to find music that heals as opposed to music that is adverse. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you can just Google that; it'll come
Okay.
up. You know, foods. When we're looking at foods, we want to stay away from foods that cause inflammation in your body. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, you asked me something else. You asked me about the
And
food,
then the
about
TV
the
shows.
sound,
Mm-hmm.
TV shows, TV shows, TV shows. You know, they all of it's programming,
Okay.
whether
Okay.
it's beneficial or not.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to choose the beneficial programming, you know,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to the reality TV shows, you know, they introducing styles, and people try to go and get the latest fashion that they saw on TV, not knowing that the people on the show is actually paid to wear those particular clothes.
Pretty much, yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
they're prepared, that they are paid to wear the purple wigs and the pink wigs, and now you have people that's walking around with pink and red and purple wigs on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember a few years ago, before people start wearing a lot of makeup. I remember episodes of The Housewives of Atlanta where they were talking about your face being beat. So when I first heard that, I thought it was physical,
Yeah.
but they were talking about makeup.
Magic. Yes.
Fast forward a few years, now everybody's wearing tons of makeup.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
so the things that we see on TV have an effect.
Mm-hmm.
So some beneficial things that you can watch on TV would be the documentaries, the beneficial documentaries. You know, talking about history, talking about um, the plight of Nubian Melaninites, the things that we have gone through. You
Mm-hmm.
know, for educational purposes, and
Mm-hmm.
you use that to to know where we come from and what we need to do in order to get where we need to be.
Okay. Now, what would you recommend? What are some of the music? What's some music that you listen to that you would recommend? Right, because we're nearing the end of the segment, so I want to give something that is applicable. Right. So, what's some of the music that you listen to? Also, what would you recommend? How does a person adhere to this new lifestyle without it being just cold turkey? Just you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes when we try to go from 0 to 100, we fail, right? So how do we apply what you're saying realistically?
Well, I would say there's nothing wrong with cold turkey, first of all, because if you want better health and you know there are things that you're doing that are not beneficial,
Mm-hmm.
they are not assisting in your healing process, or they are adverse and they're leading you more towards disease,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then what's wrong with us that causes us to continue to consume things that we know are detrimental?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
we know certain things are not good for us, but we still consume.
Mm-hmm.
We know certain music and sound is not good for us, and we still listen to it.
We still listen to.
So, foods, green leafy vegetables, foods that are non-inflammatory, or minimize the inflammatory foods.
Mm-hmm.
Decrease your processed sugar.
Mhm.
increase your natural sugar, which would be your fruits and your vegetables.
Mhm.
Right? Music. I've actually created playlists. I listen to jazz. I
Mhm.
listen to music with natural instruments.
Mhm.
Like I've been taught to listen to music with the harp and the
Okay.
oud.
The quarter. Mhm.
Yes. So I
Mhm.
go and I create playlists with those instruments and
Okay.
natural sounds, and I listen to that.
Okay.
Exercise, get back to nature, work in the yard, plant a garden, get some
Mhm.
natural sunlight. TV shows, documentary. Am I leaving out anything that you asked?
No, 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 no. That's pretty good. That's a good start. I think that's
Okay.
definitely a good start. And I know you'll also be speaking at Revamp, which is being
Yes.
held again on May 20th. So I don't want you to give it all away because we want to encourage everybody to attend Revamp. We're talking health and wellness, and there's so many great doctors, and it's just been a pleasure to be able to bring them on to the Vantage Point to speak and give us some things that we can do to better our lives. So first, I want to even thank you, Dr. Tucker, for making the time because I know your schedule is busy, but taking the time out to be here today. And so, what are some of the things? Why would you encourage a person to come to Revamp? What are some of the things that you'll be speaking about? If there's anything else that you're doing, or if you want to give the location of how people, or contact information of how people can see you if they're in the Atlanta area, you can do that as well. I'm going to give you the floor to expound on it, please.
Okay. But my work address is 809 Cleveland Avenue. That's in Atlanta, Georgia. It's off of right off 75.
Okay.
So 809 Cleveland Avenue. As the revamp,
Hmm.
revamp is an acronym for restoring energy, vibrations, and mental potency.
Okay.
All of us are exposed to stress, adverse stress, beneficial stress. A lot of it is adverse, and we have to learn
Hmm.
how to deal with the adverse components of the stress so that it does not overburden us,
Hmm.
so that we're not coming home to our families and bringing our work problems and taking it out on our family members.
Hmm.
I'm guilty. I have done that before.
Okay.
I have done that.
Hmm.
So revamp is going to give us strategies of coping with a stressful lifestyle. How
Okay.
do we recognize when things are affecting us in an adverse or negative way?
Hmm.
What do we do at work when we can't control what's going on? We can't control what's going on around us, but we can control our reaction to things that's going on around us.
Right.
So it's going to give us ways of coping with the adverse things around us, how to identify them,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
and how to maneuver
Okay.
around them so that we don't adversely affect other people that we're interacting with.
Now, can a person be affected by stress and not know it? Like, what happens? Would you encourage people who think, "Oh no, I'm good. I'm not dealing with any stress." Do they need to?
We Nobody is good. Everybody is affected, whether you know it or not. So
Okay.
so so even if you think you're good, I would definitely recommend that person because they're living in denial
Okay.
because because they have no idea of what's really going on if
Hmm.
they think they are good in on their own
Hmm.
in 2023. That's
Okay.
that's that's not possible.
Okay. Well, you've heard it here. You've heard it here first. Dr. Dias Tucker has graced us with his presence today and gave us the beginning of chiropractic care and how it works, how it affects our lives, how it's beneficial. And he kind of deconstructed some of the myths on what exactly it is. So we want to definitely come to Revamp and listen to more of what Dr. Tucker has to teach, what he has to say, and how we can begin this wellness and rid ourselves of of this stress that we have knowingly and unknowingly in our lives. So I want to thank everyone who has tuned into today's podcast. Last week we skipped a week. Our guest speaker wanted to observe a holiday. It was Ramadan for the Muslims, and then they went into Eid, and so he observed that holiday. So we'll be having him on one of the upcoming weeks. So we do apologize for last week. But thank you for tuning in today, and we hope to see you next Friday here on the Vantage Point at 6 p.m. Please share with your friends, share with your family, post little clips online. We really appreciate the support. If you would like to be featured in any of our commercial segments, if you want a business shout out, if you want to partner with us, please leave a message. Not in the chat. I would like you to go to Instagram, type in Righteous Jules. You can DM us. You can also email us at tworighteous.jules@gmail.com. And until next time, family, have a great weekend. Be safe, stay warm. It's raining here, so everyone stay safe. And until next time, love is love. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.